Hello, everybody, and welcome to another RAB live presentation. I'm Jeff Schmidt, Senior Vice President of Professional Development here at the RAB, and we're excited to have the gangs all here to help you have your best year ever in 2023. Look to the right of the screen. That's where we're chatting already. Hi, Sandy and Matt and Chris, and we're all getting all of the formalities out of the way. That's where you're going to type your questions. Type them at any time. We have several speakers and several topics today, so that might spark questions as we're talking. We're going to reserve the last 10 or 15 minutes for Q&A, but type your question in as soon as it comes up, and I'll keep a log of all those questions and pass them off to our fearless leader at the time appropriate. Look below the screen and you'll see all of the upcoming webinars, the next 4 upcoming live presentations. Jean has made them clickable, so all you have to do is click before you leave today. Click and you can register for all of the upcoming live presentations, and you'll hear more about that in just a couple of minutes. After today's presentation, about an hour after, you'll get a link with an email to a resource page that we've created. And on the resource page, you'll have the recording of today's presentation and a great leave behind that Tammy Greenberg on our team has masterminded from all of us, putting all of the resources that we're going to be talking about together in one great format for you. And you'll want to download that after the presentation. This can make a great sales meeting. If it's been a while since your team has been updated on RAB member benefits, not only do you need to call Brooke and Dolores to get a live member benefits on your next staff meeting, but you can use this recording as our favorites and the things that we think are important for you as you navigate the excitement of 2023. So with all of that out of the way, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce the president, the CEO, Hall of Famer, Erica Farber.
Thank you, Jeff. And it is great to be with everyone today. And as Jeff said, we've got the whole RAB gang with us. And for the next hour, we're going to share with you some of the tools and resources that we use on a day-to-day basis. And with the hope that our explanation of these tools and introduction of these tools in some cases will help you have your best year ever. And isn't that what it's all about? So to get started, I first want to formally introduce Brooke Williams, and Brooke oversees membership. And Brooke, we're going to start with our Sales Advisory Committee. And why don't you talk a little bit about what that committee is and how it works?
Sure. Thank you, Erica, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm very excited to kick this off by talking about a very important group of people that helps direct the RAB on what tools and resources are helpful for radio sales people today, and that's the Sales Advisory Committee. This wonderful committee is made up of about 25 key executives from RAB member stations from all size markets. These leaders have guided us to produce resources like the Automotive Toolkit, the Misperceptions of Radio, and now the Radio Works monthly category presentations. And these category presentations have been very well received since we started them in 2021. The Sales Advisory Committee continues to guide us on what categories are most important to you right now. And this year, we will continue to produce webinars on key categories like automotive, healthcare, and recruitment, while adding in some categories like tourism, personal injury attorneys, and education. The format for these highly valuable presentations will remain the same, where we bring in a category expert to provide the state of the state, such as a head of an association or a research firm that can provide statistics on that business category. We balance that information with case studies from your colleagues in the industry on how they worked with these categories successfully. So you're not only will be knowledgeable on where the category is right now, you can go speak to your clients about their business more in depth, but you'll also receive a winning roadmap to how others in radio have worked well with these businesses in the category. In addition to the Radio Works category presentations, SAC also helps us develop other sales and manager live presentation topics such as mining co-op, digital sales, and updated CNA, time management, and lots more. You can register for all of these live presentations by going under the training tab in the navigational bar. And as we mentioned, all of these presentations are now a benefit to your membership. That is just one of the many, many benefits to RAB membership that can help you be successful this year. You're going to hear from others in this hour about many of those resources. It's a warehouse of materials that are constantly updated, as Jeff mentioned, while adding new resources as the industry evolves. So let us help you stay informed and on top of these tools that we offer you by going through RAB member training or member benefits training at least once a year. So no matter how much you think the RAB provides, members are always surprised when they go through this training and attend this refresher training, whether they forgot or didn't realize we provided the help in certain areas. It's an eye-opener. So please reach out to RAB Member Response. We can schedule this support and training for your team. It's very easy. We also make contacting RAB Member Response very easy as well. So you can call us at 800-232-3131 to talk to RAB Member Response Manager Jackie Ayers, or email us at memberresponse@rab.com. Or if you're searching on rab.com and you need help, you can chat with us as the chat tool will pop up after you log in. So we want you to consider us like a personal research assistant ready to help you. We're here to help you make it the best year ever. So thanks for allowing me to share a bit more about what the RAB does with you, and I'll turn it back over to Erica.
Thanks, Brooke. And I just want to remind everyone that on the live presentations, if you've missed it when it was being done live, everything is available on demand. So again, we keep those up for quite a long period of time. So they're always great as a good refresher to you. And if something happened 3 or 4 months ago and it's a category of business that you're working on now, it's a great reminder. And on the member benefits, please reach out directly to Brooke and Dolores. And again, that's B Williams at rab.com. And she'll set up that member benefits webinar. And that is a benefit of membership. And I will tell you, we go through them all the time, even though we work here, because we forget all of the tools that are available to us on rab.com. And it is a great refresher. And as Brooke said, it's great to use in a sales meeting. And we encourage you to do it at least once a year, and sometimes even twice a year, because it's really easy to forget what's available at your fingertips. So Brooke, thank you for sharing your thoughts and insights. And again, a big shout out to our sales advisory committee, because we couldn't do any of this without them. And if this is a committee as an RAB member that you're interested in becoming more involved in, please reach out to Brooke, because we are always looking for volunteers to help make RAB as strong as possible. So again, Brooke, thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Annette Malavi. And Annette, as most of you know, oversees all of the insights that you get from us, sometimes on a daily basis, but certainly on a weekly basis. Annette, to start the conversation, would you share with us what are the most used tools, but most importantly, because I know this is something that's very near and dear to you, but what are the most hidden tools that many of our members may not take advantage of? You're on mute.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to put $1 in the till for every time I forget to unmute.
Okay.
Thanks, Erica. And thanks everyone for joining. We so appreciate it. And yes, Insights, the entire Insights team is always busy. We're like little elves updating information, but this is really how we find out what matters to you and what's important to you. And every year, as you may know, the RAB sends out a survey to each of our members and asks them about the tools and services that mean the most to them, which ones are the most important to them, and which ones they use more frequently. The responses are always pretty consistent, and it doesn't matter the market size, whether it's small, and there's no such thing as a small market, but if it's a really local market to one of the major metro areas, it always is the same. The most favored and most used tools always revolve around sales. And specifically, the top three are instant backgrounds, the pitch, and surprisingly, the daily sales tip, or maybe it's not that surprising to you. The instant backgrounds, I'm sure you've often heard me refer to them as back pocket pieces. They can help you as a seller and as a marketing professional learn about a specific category or advertising industry. Through the year, we update these, and specifically it's Victor Texcucano who updates them. And those updates often mirror the RadioWorks presentations that Brooke just mentioned. So we're updating those, we're updating other categories. Now the pitch, I know a lot of you use it, and I know some of you haven't tapped into it yet, but I'm not going to get into it because I'm certain that Tammy's going to bring that up. But the sales tips, let's talk about those. The sales tips have been great. And during the pandemic, Jeff was really busy tailoring a sales tip for every single day. And we've heard from each of you that those sales tips really mattered, and it helps. It has helped those sellers who are much more experienced and have been doing this for years, because it serves as a refresher of the importance of the relationships and what they do and how they can help their current advertisers. And we've also heard from some of those sellers that are new to the industry, new to the world of radio sales, or new in their position. And we've heard that it's helped them, and it's helped them navigate some of the difficult roads, some of the challenges that they may experience on a day-to-day basis while calling on both current and prospective advertisers. So, but here's something really interesting, or what I would like to call the kicker. There are some tools that I think many of our members don't tap into, or they don't tap into them enough. Based upon some of the conversations I've had, there have been some members that didn't even know that this existed. So here are the three. The three are the top business trends, the ad to sales ratios, and the automotive toolkit. Let me touch on each of those for just a quick moment. The top business trends highlights those hot or important months that your advertisers should really focus their sales on. It provides them with a competitive insight because it's based upon information from the government, where categories have spent some advertising dollars, or hot months where their sales are. So if you have a new client or one that's existing, mentioning today is available under the Sales Tools tab of RAB.com. The other tool is the ad to sales ratios. And this is, I think, a magic secret. It's a magic bullet. And why? Because it provides you as a marketing professional with the justification to request a certain amount of money for a proposal. Imagine that. Look, let's go back to my career when I was on the agency side. The one thing I would always do is turn to the back page to look at the proposal costs. And what the ad to sales ratios does, it can provide you and your current client or your prospective client with the amount of money that should be set aside for advertising. And hopefully it's all for radio advertising, but that may not be the case. But at least it will provide them with a guidance as to how much money they should be setting aside for any type of ad campaign, because that's what you as a marketing professional should be providing your advertisers. You should be providing them with some sort of guidance. So it's a justification tool, and it can help. And then lastly, the auto toolkit. Now, Brooke just mentioned the Sales Advisory Committee, and as Erica said, they've been invaluable to us with all of the insights they've provided us. And the auto toolkit came from some discussions that we've had with them in terms of what sellers needed. And the auto toolkit takes all the information. It's powered by MRI Simmons data, and it takes all the information from about a radio station format listener, and it can compare it to a automotive nameplate down to the model automotive owner. So imagine that there's one slide I always like to refer to as the money slide. And that's the one slide where it takes the behaviors, the reach of your radio station listener, of the station that you represent, and compares that to the automotive brand. Sometimes when you look at how those two portions of data combine, it's just amazing. And it's a great opener if you're trying to reach an automotive dealer. And I know some of you may think that, well, automotive has been challenging. If you're reading the trades and you see what's going on, guess what? They're starting to experience a little bit of dip in sales. So now's the time to start reaching out to them if you're not already, and remind them of the value that radio has to help grow their business. And then there's one other tool, and it's a relatively new tool. Last year, we announced a partnership with Provoke Insights, and they're a full market research firm. So there is a page called Provoke Insights on RAB.com if you go into sales tools and research. And in there, you will find over a dozen category-specific reports. So those reports are really easy to read. They'll provide you with insights about consumer behavior on retail, jewelry, travel, furniture, and quite a few more categories. But what's unique about these reports is that through this partnership with Provoke Insights, they have also tailored the information to provide us with radio listener specific information. So not only can you speak to an advertiser in jewelry or furniture about the preferences of consumers, but you can also speak to them about radio listener preferences in that particular category. Now, mind you, this is unique and it's a benefit of RAB membership because Provoke Insights has created that information specifically for us at RAB. So I know that there's a lot of information. But again, as I said, Provoke Insights, those reports are really easy to read. But here's another tidbit. Because we all know we're into storytelling. For just about every single report that's on that Provoke Insights page, there is a corresponding blog post. So you can just go to the Radio Matters blog and look up the category, and it'll tell you the story and what you need to know. So if I've gone through any of this too quickly, if you have any questions, as Brooke said, don't hesitate to call Member Response or just give me a call or send me an email, and it's really easy. I'm the only Annette at the RAB, so it's easy to find me.
Thanks, Annette. I love those words, magic bullet and money slide. So that caught my attention. You also brought up something that I think is also really important that I want to emphasize. So Brooke talked about when we do a live presentation that's category oriented, the rest of the team then, whether it be a blog or specific research, for that particular month, you'll find stories in Radio Sales Today, you'll find a blog, or you'll find other pieces of information that are tied directly to that particular business category. So that what we're trying to create is a whole environment that reminds you of other touch points in that particular business category. And again, if there is a business category that maybe you don't see on the list that you would like us to consider, please reach out to us and let us know, because we will be happy to add that to our toolkit. So moving on, I want to introduce Tammy Greenberg, and Tammy oversees all of our efforts at the agency and advertiser level. And Tammy, Annette already sort of gave you an intro where she talked about such tools as the pitch, but I'd like you to talk from your perspective about not only the tools that you specifically work on, such as the pitch and why radio, but more importantly, if you could share, some of the principles that you use with advertisers and agencies, because many of our members are not really aware specifically of your efforts and how you use all this data to tell the amazing story. And as you move into that, you also have another touch point with advertisers and agencies in a correspondence that we call matter of fact. And if you could share sort of what that is and how this is a quarterly connection across the country. So take it away, Tammy.
Thank you so much. And Annette, I just have to say, wow. I mean, because just hearing you go through all of these tools that I am intimately familiar with, it's a reminder for us as well, you know, to tap into some of these things. So, wow. So hi, everybody. If for those of you who aren't familiar, my role, as Erica said, is laser focused on advocating on behalf of radio. And I do that directly with advertisers and agencies. And in many ways, I try to help you do the same. Much of the direct work that I do is with national and regionally focused brands and agencies, but I also work with local clients. And many of those clients are reaching out to our member response team, looking for direction or, you know, answers to specific questions on how to navigate or you know, some of the FAQs that we often get. I don't need to tell you this, but I will as a reminder that every single client is different and every single question that they have is different, every concern, every goal. And that means that every individual response, the presentation, the research, the data that I share is always put together specifically for them in a way that clearly and definitively answers their need, and in some cases more. So it's never, even though these resources are available to all of us to tap into, it can't be used off the shelf. You need to tell your story and you need to address the very specific requests that you might have. So back to what you were talking about, Erica, the destination that I am constantly tapping is Y Radio. If you haven't spent time with Y Radio, it's a microsite of RAB.com. It can be found directly by typing in RAB.com/Y Radio or by just clicking the link at the top of the website. It's filled with so much content and tools that will address pretty much everything that needs addressing. But again, I'll never just forward what I find to the client. I take the data, the research, the presentation slides, the case studies that help craft that argument and use it to support the answer to the question and then persuade them to move forward. Some of the go-tos that Annette didn't cover yet that I am probably going to every single day when I'm working, as soon as I turn on my computer. The first one is radio facts, which you're going to find near the top of the Y Radio site. You select the category that you're pitching, the consumer behavior you're looking to achieve, the audience, and you're going to be instantly served with radio's powerful reach data that's powered by Scarborough Research. It's as easy as that. It takes 2 seconds. The FAQs, again, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked about the effectiveness of various commercial lengths, or what's the optimal reach and frequency for a plan, or what's better, endorsements or pre-recorded spots. This gem of a list of answers in the FAQ tab answers all of that and more. And again, just don't simply forward what you see there. You can print it out and reference it, but craft your story within what your ultimate goal is. Research, Annette already spoke to Provoke Insights, but we also have relationships with Analytic Owl. And there are plenty of studies by category that prove radio's effectiveness and efficiencies to drive web traffic. We also have studies from partners such as Civic Science, Horizon Media's Y Group, and Nielsen, and so much more that will answer pretty much every question that you'll receive about radio's effectiveness. But if you can't find it, call member response, call me directly, call Annette directly. We're all here for you. And then finally, the Y Radio slide deck, which Annette is in the process of doing a complete refresh on. So it's going to be brand new in the not too distant future. But it frames radio's ability to reach and engage consumers, whether they be Black, Hispanic, or everyone. Just a couple of notes on these. One, I already mentioned, Annette is refreshing them. And the second is that they're intentionally nearly or over 100 slides long. That is not for you to go and present 100 slides to your clients and your advertisers. You will lose them after the second slide. You should go and cherry pick what it is that you need to craft your story, weave your branding within it, and, you know, integrate them into your own branded presentation that tells the very specific story that your client needs to hear. And I feel like I'm going on, but the second part of the question was specific to the pitch. The pitch, and I hope you're all familiar with it. If you're not familiar with it, it's in many, many of the drop downs on rab.com, prospecting, research, presentations. It truly mirrors the process of understanding a client or a prospect in a specific business or category that's ripe for pitching. There are 3 editions that are new each month. And when I'm researching a category of focus, to summarize it for you, I learn more about that business than I bet most of the business operators that are within those categories know. Simply reading that gives you that same understanding, and knowledge is power. And it's the first step to help you to become a true marketing and business partner to your clients. You know, that category understanding combined with the Y Radio site and all of the information that I know about what you guys can do with your radio stations helps me. It provides the inspiration to create really powerful ideas and a powerful presentation that all you need to do is grab what you want from it, customize it, and go and pitch it to an advertiser in the category. It's really easy. So that's why I'm not that surprised that it's one of the top 5 consistently. And then finally, Erica asked me about Matter of Fact. That is a quarterly email blast that we send out to a proprietary database that we have of just over 6,000 advertisers and agency partners. You can also opt in to receive these articles directly to your inbox by visiting the Matter of Fact page, and which is under the Effectiveness tab, and also on the Y Radio site. The reason you want these articles is not only to get yourself up to speed on the most important trends that the advertising industry is facing and the role that radio plays within that, is to forward it to your clients and your prospects, because the topics are based on their needs. It's written for them. You know, so by way of example, in 2022, these pieces covered how radio works for a variety of categories of business that was inspired by our live online presentations and the category experts and case studies that we've had to showcase. The importance of telling brand stories and how there's really no better place to do that than in radio. Crafting audio creative that engages with best practices from the experts, and a piece that covers radio's innovation to drive growth for brands as we entered into 2023. So these are, you know, they're really sticky pieces. We know that the ad community reads them. We know I get feedback from them. We know that they're typically spot on. And we would love to make our database, you know, 100,000 names of local advertisers, but that's your job, to take these articles and flip them over to your clients with your point of view on them. And it really is a tremendous touch point that helps to position you as a true marketing partner. So hopefully I didn't go on too long, and that answers your questions, Erica.
Thank you, Tammy. And what a great reminder to talk about the importance of clearly providing solutions and answers to our clients and our customer base. There are no cookie cutter solutions, but by taking the information that's available at your fingertips, it puts the power in your hands to effectively create solutions that your advertisers are looking for. And there are no clients that are too small. So when you think about your local advertisers, we're not all talking about major ad agencies. We're talking about the local air conditioning company. They are just as important to us as anyone. And the information that Tammy is talking about can easily be used for these particular clients. So thank you, Tammy. next, obviously no stranger, he opened up our live presentation today, as he does for the majority of our live presentations. It's my pleasure to introduce Jeff Schmidt, who oversees professional development. So Jeff, the first area I want you to talk about, which are these dollars that are sitting there waiting for us to get, and that's co-op. And so if you could sort of provide a refresher about what co-op is and what's available to RAB members. And then let's do a segue into training, why it's important. We hear about it all the time. And if you could review for us all of the training programs available through the RAB.
I will be happy to do that. Thank you, Erica, and hello, everybody. With regard to co-op, the best metaphor I can come up with for co-op is you all have a credit card in your pocket or in your purse that does cash back or points at the end of the year. In co-op terms, that would be the accrual. So if you have a cash back card that gives you 3% on your purchases back at the end of the year, that's what manufacturers do for retailers. So if you're calling on a flooring store, for instance, and they buy a certain brand of hardwood flooring and they spend $1 million buying that product, putting it in their store and selling it through to their customers, that $1 million spend earns a 3 or a 2 or even a 5% accrual at the end of the year, which goes into a bank account for your client that is available to be spending on advertising. So the manufacturers want to get their name out. The manufacturers want brand identity. The manufacturers want their brand to be talked about in local markets in comparison to other brands. So they make these funds available to the local retailer. Your flooring store will then go out and buy a $100,000 or $50,000 annual contract from you, and up to half of that could be paid for by the manufacturer of the hardwood flooring. Or in some cases, you'll use multiple brands in the ads. So our co-op directory is the one-stop place where you go in and find out all of the details on these plans. There's too many terms and things for me to give you a full brief on it. On the co-op page, when you go to sales training, prospecting, or presentations, you'll find a tab called co-op. When you open that tab, the first thing you will see are 2 videos. One is a live presentation that's now available on demand, Co-op 101, which basically gives you all the terminology that I don't have time to share with you in this brief session. But terms like accrual, participation rate, all of the things that you need to know to be able to research co-op for your clients. The other thing is there's a brief video that Gene Hetherington and our team did that gives you a tutorial on how to search the co-op database. It can be a little overwhelming at times. I always like to use the advanced search button. The advanced search button allows you the widest search capability. So I use advanced search, starts with manufacturer name, and then you just type in the name and it will show you all the co-op plans available. The other thing that you can do is you can look at co-op plans that expire by the year or by the quarter. Some of them expire on a rolling quarterly basis. Most of them expire at the end of the year. So about mid-year is when I recommend everybody go in and look for a search for co-op plans that pay at 100% that expire at the end of the year. Because every year, and as long as I've been involved in co-op, every year we're leaving about $7 billion on the table in unspent co-op funds. Look, these manufacturers are not going to go out of their way to require the retailers to spend the money, because if they don't spend it, it just stays in their coffers and goes to the bottom line. But your retailers can really take advantage of these funds to make the strategy that you prepare for them go even further financially. And that's a key point that I want to make on co-op. It is not a strategy, it is a funding mechanism. So the best practice with co-op is to go out and do the normal prospecting the appointment, getting that first call appointment, doing a diagnostic or customer needs analysis, and creating the strategy. And then when it comes to putting the proposal together, you can add the co-op resources to further the proposal and further the investment that the advertiser can spend. Most co-op plans pay at 50-50, which means 50% of the advertising will be covered. Some do at 75 and some even at 100. So it makes sense to go in and look at it. Now, that's all the good news. Here's the bad news. It's a pain. It's a pain in the butt to do it. It requires detail orientation, and we're salespeople. We don't like the details. Just give us the contract, let us go, let us get another one. We slay one dragon, we want to go get another one. Well, with co-op, you've got to do some back-end detail. And that's where your traffic manager, your business manager can be your best friend in helping you pull the validation reports, the verification, but all of the things you need to know, all of the steps you need to take, the flow chart, if you will, of work is available on the RAB Co-op directory. There are several tabs at the top of the directory. Look for the resources tab that walks you through the process. And we have a full PDF color version that walks you through all the steps. Once you do it a couple of times, it becomes second nature. As with anything, it becomes a lot easier to do. If your credit card manufacturer required you to fill out forms in triplicate and verify what you spent the money on in order to get your cash back, most of us would just go, ugh. Well, that's what co-op requires. It requires the validation and the verification. But again, there's billions and billions of dollars available to you in co-op. So take a deep dive, go to the co-op directory, look at the video, spend an hour going through co-op 101. If that doesn't answer all of your questions, I love taking co-op questions. It's probably the number one reason members contact me is for co-op related questions. And I'm happy to go in and do a search. Sometimes you'll search and you won't find anything, and I'll just do it a different way with a different spelling or something, and boom, I'll get information for you. And I'm happy to do that for you at any time. But co-op can really add to your bottom line in terms of money and available resources for your clients. Your clients are not going to take the time to do this. Most of them don't. In my experience, the hardware stores and the home centers are the ones that do it because they maximize their co-op and they've hired somebody to just do that for them. But most of the other places don't have a dedicated person. And as you hear us talk about in training, you want to be a source of business intelligence and a resource to your clients. This is another way for you to be a resource to your clients by providing them the funding and the funding mechanism for the strategies you put together. So that's co-op. Lots to talk about in co-op and lots of things. And there's a question here, so let me just jump at that. Michelle's asking, you send them what the co-op deal is, meaning give them the actual write-up on the co-op. Yes, you can do that. You can send them the co-op plan. I wouldn't send anything. If I've got information like that, I want a meeting. That's a valid business reason to meet. So Michelle, what I would do is print off the co-op form showing all the details, call the client, schedule the meeting, and then share it with them in the meeting. If you send it by email, then you're just one of hundreds of other emails they're getting during the day. But you have something very unique for them. So by all means, share the co-op information as printed and tell them you'll help them navigate through it. But make sure you earn or they give you a meeting as a result of that, which really takes me.
Hey, Jeff, if I could just interject on this before we get into the RAB training. I just want to remind everyone that it doesn't matter the market size you are in. Co-op applies to any market. If you're in an unrated market or a large metropolitan area, this is a total equalizer and it is available to you. So I just wanted to make that point, Jeff.
That's an excellent point. And I wanted to put an exclamation point on something Tammy said earlier. She said it a couple of times and I think it's brilliant. You know, the tendency of sellers, and I am one, I is one, so I can be a little critical. We don't like to worry about details. We look for the fast way. We look for the easy way. So when Annette's talking about instant backgrounds or all of these exciting things, or Tammy's talking about the pitch, or Brooke's talking about webinars and live presentations, the tendency could be to take what you see on RAB and simply forward it off to the client. And as Tammy said, never just forward. Please never just forward. Because the reality is your market size matters, the client situation matters, and the research that we provide is sort of global, or the tool is all-encompassing. use our material to craft your story. We were just at CES, Erica, Dave, and I, and we heard a lot about storytelling in 2023 and how storytelling is really going to be the new norm. Everybody's going to tell a story. We're all drowning in data, but what data does is help you craft the story. So your individual story about your stations, about your market, about your client is yours and yours alone. We can't possibly know every single story about Joe the retailer on Main Street in Ottumwa, Iowa. So we provide the overarching resources, and you take those resources and tell your story, whether it's 1 or 2 slides from the Y Radio, 1 or 2 slides from the pitch, or whatever resource it is. I just wanted to put a pin on that with Tammy.
Thank you, Jeff, for doing. If you could just briefly, just very quickly go through what are the sales courses available to our members.
Absolutely. And what Erica's saying nicely is that I'm talking too much. So here we go. Radio Marketing Professional is we call it the basics course. And in 2023, getting back to basics is required. RMP covers A to Z of sales. The next level up is CRMC. That's all brand new in 2022, 2023. The Certified Radio Marketing Consultant course. Next on the agenda is digital, the Certified Digital Marketing Consultant. That's CDMC. Then we also have our copywriting course, the Certified Professional Commercial Copywriter, or CPCC. And then we have our Leadership Masterclass, which is for managers and those who are aspiring to be managers. And that's a 6-week program that we do live virtually and walk you through all of the various aspects of management. In addition to that, we have the live presentations. We have our 1-day Sales Essentials course. Our first one of the year is next Tuesday. You still have time to register for that, but we do that every other month. And we also have a Leadership Masterclass coming up in February. And we're also gearing up to be with many of you at your state association meetings, providing topics that are relevant to individual stations. So that's all of the professional development training options in less than 75 seconds.
And all available, you can find it under the professional development tag at rab.com. So Jeff, thank you for that. You know, one of the words that we hear all the time is digital. Digital, digital, digital. Well, we have our own resident digital expert in Dave Casper, who oversees everything digital for us. So, Dave, share with us a little bit about the importance of digital today. Excuse me. And then if you could give us a brief overview of our own digital products that include Account Manager, which is our CRM tool, and GoCart. So okay. Dave Casper.
Absolutely. Thank you, Erica. And hello, everyone. So first of all, on digital sales, couple things. At RAB, every year we do a benchmarking study with Burrell Associates that looks at the scope of digital in the broadcast industry. And if you look at the results from last year, they're forecasting 19% of all revenue spent in radio, in broadcast, is going to digital. So, I mean, basically what that means is $1 in $5 spent by advertisers is going to, digital assets. So, I mean, if you're looking at, how am I going to grow sales in 2023? Digital obviously is just a really easy answer. But, kind of going back, I want to touch on something that both Jeff and Tammy and Annette also alluded to. And I think the biggest reason for broadcasters to offer digital solutions to our advertisers is because they need it, right? Being that client-focused, problem-solving salesperson, when you walk in to talk to a client about their plans for advertising, obviously digital is going to be one of those really important questions that comes up. And in fact, if you look again at the Burrell study, and this comes from their survey of SMBs, which is also, I believe, on rab.com, what we discover is that advertisers are working with fewer and fewer vendors for advertising solutions. So they're looking to radio salespeople for help in planning their digital strategies. And Erica, something we talk about a lot, which I think as an industry we can be really proud of, is that our expertise in digital in the industry has gone way up. And that's thanks in part to just developing a greater understanding of it, but also from the efforts of, Jeff and your team in the great work you've done with the CDMC courses. So take advantage of those resources on RAB.com. If you're asked to participate in the benchmarking study from Burrell Associates, we partner with them on that. Please take part in it, because that really provides us with a lot of valuable information and a roadmap for how we plan and kind of think through what we're going to offer to members in terms of digital. I'll just wrap up just really quickly on this with, there's a special section on RAB.com for digital. So if you go to sales tools and you roll over research, you'll see there's a digital section where you'll see those Burrell benchmarking studies. There's also the IAB glossary of digital terms if you need some help understanding. It seems like, you know, every single day I hear a new buzzword pop up in digital. I'm like, what does that mean? So it's really helpful to have that resource you can go to and have a look at it. And a lot of other research in things like Radio Sales Today that can help you as you're presenting digital to your clients. So changing gears to talk a little bit about some of the tools that RAB offers, you know, some of the digital products. There's actually 4 kind of primary digital products we offer. The first, of course, is Account Manager. We'll talk a little bit about that. That's our CRM tool. We also offer Proposal Assistant, which is a tool for helping you develop client-focused problem-solving proposals. In my opinion, that really gets underused. That's a terrific tool that basically takes you by the hand and guides you through creating a proposal based on some of the research that we've talked about on our webinar today. So, you know, and that's feeding information into that. Tammy, the pitch, that information comes into it. Competitive media facts comes into it. So it's a great tool. There's information on RAB.com about it if you're interested in learning a little bit more. And then, of course, we have GoCart, which is our e-commerce tool. So let's start by talking about GoCart just a little bit, and then we'll kind of backtrack. So the catchphrase for GoCart, and I love this, because if someone says, you know, what is GoCart? I can explain it in just a real simple sentence. Turn trade into cash in a flash. So the idea is, you know, you get trade from your advertisers, right? And when that trade comes in, you've got a choice to make. Do you want to maybe offer it as part of the prizes you give to listeners, or do you want to try to convert it to cash that can then fall to your bottom line? And that's where GoCart comes into play. It gives you the tools that you need to, you know, basically set up a certificate program. Stations do this all sorts of different ways. Some will do a kind of a standard catch-all certificate program. Some will do a special promotion every week around a certain set of advertisers. It doesn't really matter how you do it. Basically, you put it into GoCart. It automatically creates the site for it. Listeners can go in and they can start buying stuff, and it manages all of the certificates and the inventory, make sure you don't oversell, gives you all the reporting that you need. So it's just it's a terrific tool. And as you're thinking about, you know, growing revenue in 2023, and then kind of going back to something Jeff talked about earlier, you know, with co-op, you know, how do you extend the value that you offer to advertisers? GoCart's a great product for that. It can help you build larger, stronger schedules for your clients, and also kind of help mitigate some of the challenges that comes along with accepting trade. So that's first of all. And then secondly, the Account Manager CRM tool, which is probably where I spend about 2/3 of my time now, is working on that product. I got to tell you, there isn't a single day that goes by where we don't do something to improve Account Manager. We're constantly working on it. I always say it's the CRM tool for radio that's actually written by people who understand how to sell radio. When you look at some of the other CRM products out there, and there's a lot of them, you know, a lot of them like Salesforce. I don't want to, you know, dish on Salesforce, but I mean, it's a great product, but it doesn't really work for the way media is sold. And Account Manager is actually written for that. So the minute you come into it as a radio salesperson, you know, it feels intuitive. You can kind of get a sense for how it works just by knowing the radio sales process. And if I could, you know, our webinar is how to have the best 2023 you possibly can, how to have a great, successful year. My 3 tips here all kind of relate to CRM, and it comes down to getting organized, being proactive. Sorry, I've got a Teams call coming in here. Let me go ahead and close that out. Should have closed Teams first. That would have been a good thing. Being proactive, using your CRM tool as a tool that you can use to plan ahead and think ahead for your clients, and just make sure that you're taking every opportunity you can to use those planning tools in your CRM. And Account Manager has some great ones. And then The third thing I would say is, be high touch in 2023. You've heard us talk about all the different resources that are available on rab.com. Many of those are baked right into account managers. So if you want to connect a client to a research category, you can do that in the CRM tool. And then it gives you a one-click lookup that just drills right into the major data warehouses on rab.com and pulls back a one-click research request that includes all of the great information that Annette was talking about and Tammy was talking about. All of that's right in the CRM. So there's that. There's Radio Sales Today articles that are in there that you can forward to your clients. So lots of great information in the CRM as well. And I think having being organized and being proactive, those are the key. And a CRM tool can help you with that. And I might be biased, but I think account manager is one of the best out there.
We're biased too, Dave.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So if your head hasn't exploded yet, rounding out the team is Leah Kamen. Leah oversees our marketing communications. But Leah's going to talk about the PR angle of getting the word out about radio and all of our efforts and why this is so important, speaking with one voice. And then she's going to briefly talk a little bit about social media and how we're using it and share some best examples. So Leah, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Erica. It's great to be here with you and all my colleagues to share a bit about the role of the RAB marketing communications team. We're small but mighty, and our number one thing is to advocate for radio in the industry, and that's our mantra. You just heard from everyone on the team about all this amazing, immense content, product, services that we create, and everyone works so hard at it. But what we want to make sure that not only do we arm and provide you with all the tools you need on a day-to-day basis while prospecting and building positive partnerships, we do the same thing, meaning we simply put, all we want to do is amplify the same message that you're sharing with your clients from a macro micro perspective. So we collaborate really closely with broadcasters on a regular basis to share the attributes of radio's rich story, whether it be with local radio trades, advertising and business trade, as well as targeting business to business trades in various ad categories across the board, such as auto, retail. And really, we do the same thing as Erica mentioned earlier with each month with Radio Works, whatever category we're focused on, we go ahead and we also then target those verticals, if you will. And we do the same as you do on a daily basis. We debunk myths about radio and perceptions, and we share positive insights about radio strength, such as live and local, innovations happening, positive new primary research, and all the great content that you just heard from Tammy and Annette and Dave and Jeff, et cetera. The RAB team produces an immense amount of content. I can't say it. Sometimes it's when we take a step back and we go, oh my goodness, right? So we do everything from matter of fact to the pitch to the thought leader, the ANA thought leader articles, to the blogs that Annette authors, to the podcasts, et cetera. All that is all really good content that we can share with trades. That then begins a conversation that we can then have for further interviews, further discussions, and things of that nature. Sometimes we don't see it necessarily come up in print right away. It's kind of a long lead, just like what you're developing with your business relationships with your partners. And we act both proactively as well as reactively. When we see something that just doesn't feel right, when maybe somebody takes a stat and then gets a nice headline, or they think they get a nice headline that we don't love, we don't do it in a defensive way. We rather do it by trying to tell a more realistic and positive angle, because we have found that kind of just putting our fists down doesn't really work. We look really defensive, and that's not who we are. We are really proud of where we are as an industry. And it's really important that we at the RAB are on the same page with the broadcasters, telling a unified message in a consistent and persistent voice. And that's something that we do regularly, really working hard to make sure that we are all telling a story. I reach out to our PR contacts across the broadcasters a regular basis. What are people saying? What are people talking? What are people hearing? Sharing what reporters are asking us and things of that nature. And then we also leverage our own communications channels, such as Radio Sales Today, Erica's monthly newsletter, RAB at Work, and RAB.com to tell radio story. And that way we have control. We tell it and we share it in a way we want it depicted. So for instance, RAB's annual sizzle video, it's a narrative we put out there every year, every fall. And we want to be sure to showcase broadcasters and advertisers alike, sharing the importance of the medium and why radio works. And that's been our positioning for the last year, which then lends itself really easily to RAB social media campaigns. And those are produced and curated by Madison Wright, RAB's events and communications coordinator. And what Madison does is really magic in terms of strategically leveraging each of the 4 media platforms we use: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And we tell the story via audio, video, and post the drive awareness for the medium, for RAB.com, and we always bring it back to radio's strengths. Social has been a really great tool for us to, again, consistently communicate and share this unified positive message. And as we know, reach and frequency does work, and that's just what we do on social. So I encourage you to follow us. And one of the easiest things you can do is reshare and post our messaging across all your professional networks, as it's great content for you to reshare with clients and colleagues. And this is content that you can just forward. You don't have to read it and go ahead and customize it.
That's great. Thank you, Leah. I knew this hour was going to go by so quick, but we do have time for just a couple of questions. Clint and actually someone else asked, there's so much on RAB.com. How do I find out when tools are added or updated? So who would like to take that?
I'll take that. Thanks for the question, Clint. There are a few ways. Leah mentioned Radio Sales Today. Every Monday is an RAB takeover. The 3 lead articles, including RAB News, all focus on tools, updates, presentations, newsletters that have been updated, added to RAB.com. Also, on the site, on RAB.com, that was easy for me to say, there are, right in the middle of the page, there are 3 sections. It's the quick hits, it's the new from RAB, and the hour picks. So anything that's listed there as new from RAB are tools that have been updated, recently updated or changed, or made adjustments because of new data available. And then hour picks are really those tools that we want to just remind you are available to use as a benefit of membership. And then there's one last place, and that is in the prospecting report that is published by every Wednesday afternoon. It takes data that's compiled from different resources, and it also looks at the hot co-op categories that were looked at the week prior, upcoming co-op plans. There's also instant backgrounds that RAB members have been looking at, information from media monitors in terms of top advertisers to give you ideas of categories to prospect. And again, it's just some reminders. The very first page gives you some thought starters on what to do, what to look for, and perhaps even who to reach out for.
And RAB at Work.
And RAB at Work. That's right.
That's right. Scott K has sort of a general statement that I'd like to read. And Scott, if you could, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to voluntold you here, because I'm going to ask you to send me your email information directly to me, because we're going to use you as a resource. So send an email to me at efarber@rab.com. But Scott says, and we hear this a lot, I work in a small market. Lots of the information on RAB.com seems a lot more than I need. And is there, or have you ever given any thought of delegating just a category to small markets in particular, or how to adapt to the same. So Scott, I just want you to know this is something we talk about all the time, but we want to work closer with you because you're going to help us answer that question. How's that? All right, we have 1 minute left. I'm sorry we can't get to the rest of the questions, but I want to remind everyone that everything that was discussed today and even more is available on the slide deck that you will be receiving about an hour after this presentation this morning. Again, I want to thank the RAB team. As you can see, everyone is 100% focused on your needs as local sellers and managers. We are a resource that we want you to depend on us to help you make this your best year ever. With that, we thank you so much for joining us. And again, as Brooke suggested, there are many ways to reach out to us. But if you have a question, just ask RAB. Have a great day.